Alright. Yep, we are online. So, um, welcome to our weekly Dungeons and Dragons game. Few things to note. This is not a Dungeons and Dragons show or live stream. We are not actors or any of that other jazz. This is mainly for our own purposes, a archival of our game sessions that we enjoy just sharing with the world. And if you want to chat with us, be inspired with us, and just join in the fun with us, go right ahead. We'll talk back with you during the chat. Everyone is welcome at our table. So, moving along, life was throwing us some curveballs for last session, so sadly we didn't have enough players to proceed with a session, especially considering where everybody is at in the game world. And because of that, we've had to go through some various little changes and side talks and things with people, and well, hopefully we can get through the chaos that has been the past couple of weeks, both in real life and in game. So let us begin with a little recap of what's been going on, just to give everybody a nice little refresher. Let's see here. Where we last left, you flew out to the front line in a war against the giants of the Alduin region. The Iron Legion flew off on their Griffin cavalry mounts to assist in the other parts of the city to help quell the raging battle, some of which have already breached the walls of Reldon. You manned a defense of another section of the city wall, a section that was about to occur another breach. As the giants rushed the walls, clad in very potent custom armor, composed of various rare minerals and metals, they unleashed volley after volley of boulders and large containers of flaming pitch, some of which have already begun damaging the walls and the very homesteads beyond. Under their assault, though, you did hold your ground, sticking with your battle plan, and with the aid of some of Reldon's City Watch, armed with ogre cannons, you held the walls. But this was not without further help. With the unexpected aid of the dragon known as the Eternal Fire, the very dragon you all met deep within the vault of stolen coin, you were able to stop the first wave of giants. However, in the distance, the forest that surrounded Reldon, the bulk of its ancient forests, you saw 300-foot ancient trees being toppled over by a figure almost two-thirds their size. An undead titan, the body of which you saw when you traveled along the mountain passes, the skeletal remains of a titan once pinned to a mountain by an equally massive sword, now carrying that same blade, with a hand and body composed of necrotic flesh. More giants accompanied this monstrosity as each thunderous footfall landed closer and closer to the city walls. Sorrow the Examiner, riding atop a skeletal dragon, also aided you in the battle against the Titan. Through teamwork, and using almost every ounce of your abilities, sweat, and blood, with the killing blow to the Titan delivered by a human, a man, nay, a hero named Barth. Before you could savor the sweet taste of victory, however, Sorrow and his dragon were attacked by a massive figure in crimson armor. Figure some of you have encountered previously in your travels. A soldier of the Nemesis, one that Willow calls a Nemesis Enforcer. The Nemesis wounded the skeletal dragon, causing it to crash into the city several blocks away, while Sorrow and the Nemesis soldier both fell crashing into the streets in another district. You all heard the terrified shouting of the guards along the walls, pointing to several other similarly armored figures. Gods! It can't be! It's the Nemesis! And, this is where we're going to pick off today.
Poor Mr. Dragon. He tried so hard last session. He just had a really long lunch break for most of it.
Well, the Eternal Fire was, he only does one show a night,
He did come back for non-core, thankfully.
This is true.
Well, we should probably get moving, I guess.
Don't worry, guys. I can stop this. I know how. Okay, maybe he'll still listen to me. Maybe I'm still. You guys wait here. I'm gonna go take care of this.
So, we did have some direct conversations with some of the players from last week and prior. Two of you wanted to do some very specific actions during this time. So we're going to go with those two players right now. The first of which, we're actually going to start off with Mordecai.
All right.
So, Mordecai, you wanted to get some additional supplies to assist with the oncoming threats, to assist your fellow party members in their endeavors, knowing the threat that looms, that with your current abilities near completely being spent, some of you still badly wounded, that you will need aid and guidance in what is to come.
Yeah.
So, I believe you wanted to reach out to a very specific contact at this time.
Yeah.
All right, well, what do you say? What do you do when you reach out to this contact?
Crucial shit's going down still. Nemesis, I need some help. Where is it? I need some supplies.
All right, Mordecai. It's a lot of chaos, a lot of evil in Reldon, more so than normal. It's not too far by, but you're going to have to run through some of these streets. I will try to guide you through the rampages, the destruction. We'll need to get you there quickly while the path is still open.
I'm on my way.
Okay. So, as you're running through the streets here, I need you to make a few checks for me. First one is going to be a perception check.
19.
All right. So, let me see here. So, with the 19, this is enough for you to avoid some of the dangers, to see some of the combatants. There are still straggler giants still within the city, still fighting the city guard. A lot of them do have it under control for the most part. The Iron Legion is still assisting. Some of the other aerial cavalry of Reldon, the Wyverns, are still assisting. But you by yourself are no match for some of these giants. And with your perception, you're able to spot some of them and to stay out of their ire while making your way through the narrow alleyways and some of the burning buildings and rubble from their attack. The next check I need you to make here is going to be a Constitution check.
Save or check?
Check.
8.
Okay, so as you are trying to run, trying to keep ahead of some of the destruction, listening to the guidance, when to go, when to move, the directions, your body is not quite used to this level of physical exertion. Though being a, former active military man, you haven't had this level of physical training in quite some time, and you're a little rusty at it. You've hit the books more than you've hit the training areas. So, as you are going through the streets here, you are going to have 1 point of exhaustion.
Okay.
The next check I do need you to make. Now, this is going to be a dexterity check. Now, you can make a dexterity acrobatics if you have it. Otherwise, it's going to be a flat-out dexterity.
5.
Okay. So as your angel guide is having you go to and fro, further away from the carnage, he is telling you to stop all of a sudden, and you're still moving with the momentum. And you try to stop, but you kind of slide, and you're not able to really stop yourself as you kind of go into the main street, and you actually fall down, just like face first. And you're just kind of looking up at the streets. That's when you hear your contact tell you, "There's great evil nearby." And after those words is when you hear the melodious, soft voice of a woman singing, "When you're dead, you don't feel it." And you hear what sounds like a cacophony of babies crying, getting louder.
Jesus Christ.
Not quite, but what does Mordecai do?
I cast invisibility.
Is that your last spell?
No, I still have my first level, all of my first level spells, and now just one of my second level spells.
Okay.
I'm the one who's running on 1 spell.
Okay.
I'm the one who has none of my combat resources anymore.
Hey,
Good
hey,
luck, sir.
hey.
I have sneak attack.
Let's be fair. I just need like an hour, and then I'm good. Then I can kill
It's
things.
true. Barth just needs a sandwich, and he's good. All right, so you cast invisibility. You're still on the ground.
Yeah.
Still just
That-
like there, but you cast the arcane, you say the words of power, and your body begins to fade from view. Now, as you do this, coming through one of the intersecting thoroughfares, you see the figure that was singing. You also see, surrounding this figure, moving along the streets. The streets are devoid of bystanders, thankfully. You don't see any real, bodies or corpses here. There is some bits of rubbish and, debris, but nothing too hindersome if you were to need to beat feet. Surrounding this, the source of the song, are these shadow-like beings that seem to move in and out almost of the ground. They're very fluid-like, almost forming just angry black waves, some of which have hollows where the eyes would be. When they open their mouth, you hear the wailing of the babies. But the figure that they're surrounding is a woman, at least that you can make out from her figure, wearing flowing white gowns, wearing a matching full face veil, and she's got these piercing, glowing yellow eyes as she parades down the street with those things in tow. And those things, a few feet behind her, there's a group of them that seem to be carrying a body.
What body?
Make a perception check.
Oh God.
It's your body.
11.
So, as you kind of look, still just not moving, just being invisible, you recognize the body, though it's not wearing what it was once wearing prior from when you saw it. But you do recognize the mangled, broken body of Sorrow.
Fuck. I'm gonna run by, make a grab for it, and then book it. It's not an attack roll, right? It's not a spell.
Okay, so
I'm maybe adding an item to what I'm grabbing.
okay. As you're running towards, I'm going to need you to make an intelligence check.
Nat 1.
Mordecai, you're panicking.
A little bit, just a little lot, though so much.
All right. As you get about 15 feet from the body, and from all these creatures that are moving about the streets, the woman behind the veil, her head seems to crane as you approach closer. It's not until you're about 15 feet where you realize she's looking at you. Like she's following your body's movements, getting closer and closer, and she just stops walking as you approach.
I'll stop and look at her. The Infernal Scepter needs that body. I need to take it to them.
The Infernal Scepter. Oh, why would Heaven's forgotten son be concerned about such petty politics between heaven and hell? Besides,
You don't know, do you?
it is not theirs. I am simply taking what is owed, what is rightfully mine.
Perhaps I can offer you something in return for the body.
Make a persuasion check.
I'm sure she's not celestial, so yeah, fuck it.
If she is, you can't see.
23.
And what could you possibly offer me?
You must have heard about the slaughter
As
at the
one.
temple.
Heard of it, but does not concern me.
You think that, don't you? There are some items we unearthed. You should go speak to our headquarters. They'll happily give you what you want, what you don't know you want.
Tell me, Heaven's son, who do you think I am? And her eyes kind of glow just a bit and then dim back down.
Someone who enjoys passing wherever they wish. There is a spell of legend and items that can cast it.
So, it's not until you're still kind of looking at her, and she hasn't broken your invisibility. She's let you, with that. The shadows around do kind of coalesce near you, but they keep their distance like 5 feet away from you. They do kind of move under the ground and out, just circling around you, not touching you, but, staying close enough to, a little too close for comfort. But looking upon her, it doesn't hit you until now. What you recall, back when you were traversing some of the areas of Reldon, even some of the underground, you remember seeing a very peculiar symbol, a marking. Glowing eyes behind a veil, representing a secret society. The face that you look upon, the eyes behind a veil, almost mirror that symbol exactly.
My memory isn't that great.
Apparently with that natural one.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna keep on with it.
Okay.
Does the word gate mean anything to you?
Now you want to discuss the meanings of words. Well, let me discuss something that may be more meaningful than words for you. First, let me show you. And she just kind of walks over to the body of Sorrow, and she pulls her hand out and just kind of turns the body as the shadows seem to be just kind of holding it. These clawed hands just twisting it about, helping her just kind of move it to your view. And you see through the center of Sorrow's chest a very large wound, like perfectly straight. Like something very large and very sharp had pierced his body. The agents of the Mad One tried to steal his soul, but his soul was not theirs. His soul belongs to another. As I said, I am just taking what's rightfully mine.
He sold his soul to you?
It's a bit more complicated than that, but let's just say certain bargains were made. Bargains that yet have to be paid, and, well, his story has yet just begun. But do speak softly. I do not want him to be woken just yet. Now, as for words that have value, you ask what I would find valuable. You ask what can be for trade for his body. But you do not ask the right questions. Questions that you should be asking to yourself, to your superiors, to whomever you speak to in heaven. Not many have the power to bring forth a titan of that magnitude. Necromancers of that caliber are very rare. Ones to bring a titan of that size would require assistance in gathering the appropriate materials. Necromancers who are known don't last very long unless they're very powerful. The question you should be asking is, whom can do such a thing? What necromancers do you know of who can survive, are powerful enough to withstand the assaults of nations and militaries, who know their presence? But I think you already know the answer to that, don't you, Heaven's Son?
What is it, a history? Religion?
Yeah.
Am I being really stupid right now?
You can, we'll say, yeah, we can do a history religion for that. We'll do a religion check.
16.
So, as she's kind of teasing you with, kind of poking at you with, you get what she's hinting at, that somebody in your past that you have faced before
Oh,
may be powerful enough to not only withstand being known by the military, but be powerful enough to raise such a ferocious undead monstrosity. With
Boggle.
You can't be serious. He wasn't raising titans and giant armies. He was raising skeletons, and I killed him. He's dead.
Are you sure you saw what you thought you saw? One who masters life and death can twist perceptions quite easily.
Mordecai takes a few steps back.
Now, I have given you some valuable information. I presume that you will let me pass without further delay. Also, I do believe you have a city to save.
But the Nemesis, you must have seen it.
I have seen their futile attempt to take what is not theirs. I have seen the frustration when they realized that they could not take it. I would be concerned about them venting that frustration on the populace.
Mordecai just kind of looks around, then back to her, and it looks like he's debating really hard whether he just wants to rush into this battle he's obviously going to lose. He looks like he's about to cast a spell, and then he stops. He looks about like he's about to cast a spell, and then he stops. And then he runs towards the directions Kushiel was giving him.
And as you do that, she continues to walk down the street singing her little tune. When you're dead, you don't feel it. And eventually the words, as they echo off, trail off, and you no longer hear her or the wailing of children. But
I was so tense I forgot to use Mordecai voice. I just realized.
So you continue being directed to the location, and you do find the doorway, which you enter, and make your way to the warehouse. And that's where we're going to pause your section here.
Okay.
Willow!
Everything is good. I hope my friends have bailed out of the town and saved themselves.
Well, I mean, you saw them move about, so I mean, there's that, right? But so you wanted to deal with this yourself. What is Willow doing?
She is running towards where she saw the enforcer go down, tree hopping to get herself a little bit more speed and avoid ogres.
Okay. So, I am going to need Willow to make a perception check. So, as you are moving about, trying to avoid some of the giants that are still, that have made their way into the streets through some of the breaches, they are in the middle of combats with Reldon's City Watch and the Wyvern riders. But you're also trying to keep track of where the Nemesis fell from the sky. As you are making your way through the streets, you gonna need you to make a dexterity acrobatics check. Because there's something coming by you that you just didn't notice.
So what I hit, Dave?
Well, it's not of what you hit. It's more of coming right out of your blind spot. There is a screaming, flame-wreathed head that flies right past you as you kind of instinctually, you recognize this from the text that you read, and you try to pull your body away from it before it collides with you. In doing so, you do fall from one of the trees that you've been moving through. And as you do, you take 1 point of bludgeoning damage, and you are prone in the street. As you see the skull, the screaming head, make contact with one of the wyvern riders, the wyvern and the rider itself. As it does so, it passes through both of them, but it doesn't seem to hurt their physical bodies, but you do see trailing off, connected to the screaming head, is almost semi-transparent copies of the beast and the rider, trapped, attached to the head as it screams and now arcs straight directly into the ground, causing a plume of bluish flame as it pierces the cobblestone street. The bodies, once the little specters that are attached to the head are separated for them, immediately just go limp. The rider just drops his weapon and just falls limp in the saddle. The wyvern slowly just starts to spiral down, the wings slowing the descent, but it still just head plants into the ground.
Oh yeah, they steal souls. Oh yeah, they steal. It's okay, I can stop this. I'm still in control of the situation. I'm gonna lay on hands 20 on myself so I don't die from falling out of trees.
Okay. So, you lay on hands, and you continue on. As you are racing, trying to find where the nemesis was, I do need you to make a survival check. And this is to see if you can navigate your way through some of the damaged areas, the carnage, to successfully get to the area that you think the nemesis was at.
Just because my luck hasn't been good for the day, let's go ahead and
Let's be
burn
real.
that inspiration.
Luck hasn't been good for anybody for the past 3 sessions.
We're gonna go ahead and
DM
burn
and
that
player
inspiration.
included.
I'm gonna go ahead and cast guidance on myself,
Okay.
which apparently I needed.
Very much so.
15 with all that thrown at the wall.
All right. So you are going through some of the carnage. You're running and kind of jumping and sliding over bits of, half-broken wall. You're trying to avoid some of the giants that you still hear the bodies land and the ground shakes. Others, you see soldiers just fly 20 feet in the air, and followed by loud crashing of their metal armor hitting the stone below, followed by a giant's bellowing laugh. And this is all in the distance as you're just going further away from that. And as you clear the last little bits of rubble from a giant boulder that apparently crushed half of a house, part of it sticking out in the streets. You come out to the main thoroughfare here, and that is when you see a few red crimson armored clad figures of various sizes. One looks very familiar. The others slightly different heights. Some of them a little narrower in the shoulder. Some of them have, the narrow one has almost like a little billowing cloak to it. They all carry very vicious looking weapons. Some of them a two-handed battle axe, another has a two-handed sword. Your favorite enforcer has a sword and a axe in each hand. And you just see the heads just kind of crane slowly down the thoroughfare in your general direction.
It's okay. I'm definitely still his paladin. This is. And she's gonna kind of boldly walk down toward.
So, as you start walking towards them, first they don't move, they just look at you. Then one of them, one of the mid-sized ones, has almost like a fur collar with a dark crimson cloak, pulls out the black two-handed sword and starts to take a step towards you with it drawn. The enforcer just puts out a large hand, like stopping it at its chest. And then the figure then just takes a step back, still holding its sword out, but not up in a, Conan-like position with the sword ready to swing, just more of a slightly relaxed position, but still in its hands.
Well, she is going to be a little bit more relaxed at that. So, why are you all here? Was this his will?
As you say that, one of the dragons comes by and starts letting out flame onto the other nemesis that are further down the street. Does a little flyby. This is not near where you're at. You're not caught in the blast. You're not, 20 feet away from it. This is kind of like 50, 60 plus feet away from you. The breath of the dragon seems to almost liquefy some of the stone of the street, catching bits of wood from various signs on fire. But the nemesis that were caught in the blast just stand and look up at it. They don't seem to be fazed by the dragon's fire, though they do have their weapons drawn. The enforcer takes a step close to you. And looks at you head to toe. And I'm going to need you to make a strength athletics check for me. The DC is going to be the opposed Nemesis Enforcer as he attempts to grab you. The DC is going to be 35.
I'm not going to bother rolling.
Okay.
You know what? She's calm. She's relaxed. Like, okay, this is actually going better than expected.
Well,
I've got this. I've just been grabbed. Okay, that.
yeah, it picked you up kind of like by the throat, not choking the life out of you, but just roughly picking you up off your feet. Your feet just kind of dangle off the ground until it lifts you up almost to its eye level, which is several feet off the ground. The head just kind of tilts. The Fey child may have removed the parasite, but she failed to remove the secrets you already possess. Takes his other hand, puts it on your head, and says the word reveal. I'm going to need you to make a wisdom saving throw, please.
Take it. This is magical.
Yes.
$23.
Close, but not enough.
Let me see if I have anything else that lends itself to this. I don't think I do.
Take. You want to take my inspiration?
I already have advantage.
Okay.
No, but he needs to make a con save for grabbing me.
Come on, that one.
Well, I mean, that's not an auto
Yeah.
fail,
Yeah, yeah.
but his con bonus alone is higher than the DC.
I can dream, Dave. I can dream.
We gotta remember that DC was low, and until you had your paladin stuff, it was quite funny just you avoiding contact with every bystander. But anyway, so it's a good thing you healed those points, because Willow is going to be taking 9 points of psychic damage as her memories are kind of flashing through her head. It's like he's sifting through them, almost like replaying a tape, almost like watching a movie of your recent events, and you're seeing it with him, like what he's seeing, just going in reverse through your recent encounter with the giants, the rest of your current party, the Iron Legion. You do feel that some of the memory gets to slow down a bit. At one point in the Iron Legion,
I looked at the entire list, didn't I?
yes, you did.
God damn it.
And it goes further back. It goes to a point where not only about things that you've discussed, things that you were researching, about them, the things that you saw in Reldon, but going further back, it goes back almost to the start of your adventuring days. Back to Ebon Meadows. Back to a very scared little girl. Goes back to Aurora, where you left that girl.
We need to leave now.
But the last thing that the Nemesis views through your mind's eye, it goes back to another image it glanced over. It goes back to an image that you remember seeing through a dream, through when it ransacked a certain school, when it killed somebody at that school, a very specific person that was pleading for their life. And then the memory fast forwards to back when you were first heading to Reldon, when you're on a very comfortable, relaxed train, having conversations and enjoying drinks with your fellows and having a nice talk with a gentleman that seemed very knowledgeable of things. A man that you remember, his name was Caleb. And the image just kind of stops there before your hand, you feel the hand being removed and your throat is released and you just drop a few feet.
Well, that was rude.
And almost on cue, the dragon again starts breathing fire and more nemesis down the street. You hear the landing of another dragon coming by, the second dragon, as it begins also unleashing its breath weapon on the nemesis back there. Turning to the one that wanted to engage you, the enforcer pulls out an odd-looking rod. It's a rod that has 4 skeletal heads around the top of it, all facing away like almost like a compass. In between the back of the skulls is this pristine crystal orb that you can see floating little emotes of light, just kind of almost like a firefly. The rod itself is pure crimson. It almost resembles a spinal cord that's been riveted and set in various plates of metal where the bone would be, and hands that to that other nemesis soldier. Show them why they fear the power of the Mad God. Unleash your fury, Cabal.
Oh, shit. I take it I just got fired, okay. Willow is going to scream at the top of her lungs. She is going to scream for Mr. Dragon.
Okay, so you're screaming, and the dragons are fighting the other nemesis, or at least trying to keep their distance away from the nemesis while using their breath weapons. And the one that can fly is using the hit and run tactics, while the other one is kind of leaping around, just trying to stay away from the melee range of the other nemesis soldiers. The enforcer in front of you doesn't raise one of his weapons. Raises a hand. Inside of the hand is a small sphere, about 2 inches, kind of swirling with various colors of orange and green and little bits of white in it. It's almost like a weird smoothie being blended, the kind of weird natural colors in it. and it hands it to you.
Oh. I was going for my hand axe, but okay, what is this?
What once was shall be again. We have the name of the lost son, and we also have a backup if needed. And as the dragon is kind of swooping to fly towards you and, starting to breathe fire down the alley, not to hit you, the one that had that rod, you see what he is doing with it. The soldier actually takes that rod and he smashes the orb at the top. When he does that, he and the other nemesis vanish in a flash of light. The rod just kind of falls down with a loud clunk clunk, but where the orb was smashed, you see a small glowing emote of light, about the size of a snowflake. And it begins to just gently float down to the earth.
Hey Dave, while he was going through my memories, did he happen to go through a certain point that I forgot?
Did he go through a certain point you cut off?
That I forgot. That was the night with the creepy lady.
Yeah, that was also accessed. So, you got to recall some things that you really didn't want to know.
All right, I'll go check out the floating gold orb thing.
Well, all right. Now, as you're moving towards it, it's down the street. It's about 50 feet away from you. As you're getting close to it, it's falling like a bit of snow, so it touches the ground before you get to it. And as it touches the ground, this blinding flash of light occurs as the magic that's triggered from it is released. So some of your items about you that have various magical properties that are currently enchanting you and aiding you, those suddenly cease to function. The sound of intense winds begin to roar past your ears as you start to feel a gentle pull, followed by a strong suction coming from the area where the emote had just landed.
I should have been running. But we're committed now.
Okay. Are you just standing there? Are you moving now? Are you...
Can I see anything where it fell?
Yes. The emote is now a small orb that is growing very rapidly. Inside of this orb, you can see, and it's all just kind of a blinding white light, but inside as it grows, you can see parts of the street, like just kind of like a silhouette, the shadow of it, the bricks, the stones being lifted from the street and pulled toward the center of that bright white orb, where upon hitting that center, the shadow starts to turn into bits of dust and then almost as to nothing as they spiral into non-existence. As the orb continues to grow more larger in its circumference.
Okay, yeah. Can I roll an Arcana attempt to identify what I'm seeing here? As I take one last look behind me before I sprint away.
Actually, a history check would be more applicable here.
Oh, they're equally bad, so 14.
Well, coupled with your research that you did so well on before, this seems to have familiarity with something that the books have gone into just descriptions of. A spell that the Mad God used to slay the Dragon Emperor.
Right. I don't have a big enough counter spell to take care of this. Wait, it's an object. Is the orb like an object?
No, the orb is more of just it's a sphere now that's just growing in size as it's kind of everything it's touching is being just kind of pulled apart and drawn to its core and then just obliterated into dust and then to nothingness. You don't see the silhouettes anymore, but you do feel the pulling of wind, like almost now it's like a tropical storm just being blown in reverse towards that orb. You see above you, the eternal fire is trying to fly away and is not making any traction. What does Willow do?
These are some really bad winds. I am going to make one swing of the sword to try to see if I can break whatever this is, and then I am going to sprint as fast as I can and put as many walls as I can between it and me.
Okay, what sword are you using?
What weapon am I sacrificing to this?
Now, keep in mind, if it is a magical one, it is not functioning as such.
That is regrettable, but well, we're gonna throw a hand axe into it.
Okay. All right, make a attack roll.
Oh, buddy.
Well, since I have multiple attack, we'll throw another hand axe into it.
You know there are two numbers on those dice, right?
Okay, with an offhand, we'll throw a third hand axe.
Oh,
I'm
Okay.
just gonna undo one of my belts and just have the weapons go flying towards it because it's getting sucked up and I can't throw.
Yeah, it's
So, Barth, we're running away. Agreed?
Well-
this is a bit above my pay grade.
yeah. Y'all are like the rest of you, minus Mordecai. He's in another spot. Are blocks away from this, so you're nowhere near where this is going. You can see like the flash of light in the distance, and like you see the dragons just like dive bombing things in the street. You're assuming giants because you see giants throwing rocks and things still scattered about here and there in Reldon, but it's not as many giants as you were facing outside the wall. You know, it's just like scattered, giants that broke through the brigades, that got separated from their larger groups of giant kin and are just causing as much damage and destruction on their own right now, some of them being dealt with more easily than others.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
So does a 15 do anything to it?
I mean, you throw it at the sphere, which is now growing larger and larger. When I say larger, it's about 5 feet and still growing rapidly. Just it's like a quickly inflating balloon. It's just getting larger and larger and larger. At this point, you hear the creaks of wood from the nearby buildings as you see the buildings start to sway and towards the direction of the sphere. But the axe goes into the sphere, and you see the silhouette like fly in, and then you see it quickly, like the wood being splintered, the ties just popping, the metal head of the axe just start to almost get turned into confetti that starts to swirl, almost like sand being washed away down a hole.
Not good. Well, I'm still trying to move out of it as I'm hurling everything back.
Okay. So, as you're trying to move away here, let's have you make a strength acrobatics or dexterity, strength athletics, dexterity acrobatics. Because you are fighting opposing forces as you are trying not to get swept off your feet. Okay, you're grabbing on the things like parts of buildings, trying to push your way. It's almost like now you're facing like low-level hurricane force winds like blowing into you. But it's really the suction of that you're feeling from this orb trying to pull things in. You see the roofs of some of the nearby buildings get pulled off and into this thing immediately just crumple, crack. The wood just splinters and folds in on itself. Some of the other buildings next to it are starting to be bent inward. The stone just breaking in foundation, almost making it like a Leaning Tower of Pisa, pointed towards this orb. You see the poor skeletal dragon that cannot fly is being pulled into it, and you see its mass. As its mass is going into it, the orb is getting larger more violently, and you see the bone silhouettes just breaking apart. The whatever energies were holding this thing, empowering it, you see it just give off one final burst of purplish bluish light, this bright light before just waning to nothingness. I'm going to need you to make a dexterity saving throw. As debris is now being sucked down the street, you manage to get out of the way of like a cart that's rapidly rolling around. There's like a dog that gets sucked in from the alley, just like arr, 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 yipe, yipe, as it hits the sphere, and then it just goes silent. So as this thing gets larger and larger, you're about 100 feet away from the sphere right now, and the suction is still immense. The only thing here that helps you kind of push this last bit past the debris to get through some of the alleyways, so you can actually have more buildings in between you and it, so you can get out of this wind tunnel. Eternal Fire just kind of lands, and Widow, run! And you see him like his claws are digging into the streets as he's being pulled in to the sphere. And
Oh no, she's having another flashback to her last friend who got ate by a cat.
And and as his body goes in, the orb just kind of explodes, and as it does so, Willow, I'm going to need you to make a Constitution saving throw as you are blown into nearby buildings, and stone debris is raining down upon thee.
Oh good, I've got a good con save. And the dice said, okay.
Okay. So yeah, all the stone, like you get thrown back. The rest of you like see this bright, intense light, and then you start to see like buildings start to just kind of like wobble in the distance, and then after a few more moments, you hear the sounds of the dragons like doing a roar, and then they get silenced, and then all of a sudden, this loud boom as you see building debris just fly about everywhere in that direction where Willow was at. And you see all this like grayish ash just start to just rain down from the sky, almost like a volcano erupted.
I don't know what that was.
I'm
Well, I think
leaving.
it was
Bye. Imri turns around and starts not even walking, actually. She does move, dash, bonus action dash. She's gone.
Okay. And we're going to actually get to Imri in just one. In fact, you know what? We're going to get to Imri right now. So, Imri, as you are dashing, getting away from all this ruckus, all right, you know, enough's enough. You've given your stay, you've done your duty, now it's time to beat feet, right? Well, as you're beating feet, I would like you to make a perception check.
Let's see, you've made a grave miscalculation. You forgot that Newt owns your soul now, and she's not gonna let you get away so easily. Wherever.
Oh, Barth, just hang tight. You're gonna love this.
Yeah.
You're gonna love this.
Damn you, Newt.
Well, not quite. So as you're beating feet, a cloaked figure drops down in front of you about 20 feet and just kind of blocks your way and just looks up at you, and you see it's somebody from your organization, very reptilian-like features. You're not sure if it's a lizard folk or maybe a
The Illuminati.
dragonborn, but they have this very this weird kind of hissing lisp. Hello, Imri. As it just kind of looks at you oddly. I thought you would be taller.
Yeah, that's what happens when you make out with a fae.
Well, and it just kind of walks a little bit, just kind of relaxes, like just leaning by one of the buildings. Interestingly enough, word is you are involved in a rather sensitive incident.
I think I'm involved in a lot of incident.
Let me...
What was the word you used? I derped out.
Let me refresh your memory. Does double-crossing a founder ring a bell? Or perhaps another of our own suddenly gone missing? Look, I know the Jade Claw attempted to make contact with you, or maybe made contact with you before he vanished. Tell me, Henry, why would the Jade Claw reach out to you? You, a low-ranking member of our organization.
Honestly, I'm not really too sure of that. I remember seeing him at one moment. I was made blind by some psychopathic cult-worshipping demon shitlords. And then, when the blindness was gone, I found a pile of glass. So if you could answer to me what the hell happened that night, I would be very thankful because I sure as shit don't know. And I'm rolling deception with my inspiration.
Okay. Finally, a decent roll. Well, then I regret to inform you that a blood hunt has been called on you, Imri. You've been burned, and, well, a rather sizable bounty is now on your head. And do know that I will take great pleasure in what
She
comes
pulls out her
next.
crossbow and shoots him.
Roll initiative.
By the way, question. If I win the first mean I get my surprise round on him? Because she's interrupting his sentence with the crossbow.
True, but also you don't know if he had a held action as well. So this is where the initiative comes in. You can still get your action in if you beat the initiative.
Great,
We're
the battle
saying
of
if I
two
shot
assassins.
first.
Exactly. So
Should have taken
Oh, God.
improved initiative.
wow.
Hey man,
Well,
this is gonna be great.
you get to go first.
Oh, cool. Let's see if he just dies.
As I mentioned earlier in our session, the dice have been very cruel to everybody, including Dungeon Master. So
So I have a
yours was
question.
a
because I've
modified
never been-
14. His was a modified 9. Yeah.
So I have to ask because I've never been in this situation. If I get a surprise round like this, do I get the advantage on the shot or no?
I don't think you get the advantage on the shot because he's aware of your presence and you don't have any of your allies there, and there's no other special triggers for it.
Okay.
That would grant that. But yeah, you just see him summon this like shadow blade, and you're already firing your crossbow. So go ahead and
His reaction is probably like, "Bitch, what the hell? I was talking."
well, yeah, like you see him like he was about to go like probably to the lines of and I'm gonna collect on it, and he's summoning his blade like he's starting to move his arm out to try to get the drop on you, but you got the drop on him just a little quicker.
But thankfully, at least since it's surprise round, I get that as an auto crit. Assassin.
All right. I'm not seeing any sneak damage.
Oh yeah, it's sneak attack damage.
Yeah, you get to add that.
Hey, look, 24 damage. How does he feel?
little pissed. He just got shot with a magical crossbow bolt. Like not quite in the throat, but like in the area, just kind of a few inches down to the left of the throat. So it's kind of like going into his sternum by the bone. So he's not really happy about that. And it seems like he's going to enjoy what he has to do next to collect that much more.
Cool, I have a dagger with his name on it now. Well, that's going to be her turn.
Okay, so he is going to try to attack you with his Shadow Blade. And that is not going to hit. So, I swear to God, if the next roll is what I think... Okay. His first roll for initiative was a 1. First attack roll was a natural 2. Third attack, however, was a bit better. That is a 23 to hit.
That will hit.
Okay, so you're going to take 9 points of piercing and an additional 15 necrotic. Also, as the blade hits you, your strength is reduced by 3 points as you feel it siphoning some of your energy.
All right.
And
how far away from Barth did I get?
you were quite a bit from Barth.
I hope Barth had fast enough reaction time to start running too.
Well, I mean, he might have, or he might be, distracted by Tsunoshu, who's totally swooning over him as he just killed a Titan.
I don't know.
Barth,
well,
you dropped it to its knees and you stabbed it in the face, splitting its head open like a cantaloupe.
It's not that impressive.
Hey, look, for everybody that was there, it was the most impressive thing they ever saw in their lives. For Barth, it was Tuesday. So, Imri, he's still right next to you.
Well, she does have one tactic that I'm pretty sure everyone will know if they've watched the JoJo series. I disengage,
Stop, JoJo.
move, and then I dash. You're trash. JoJo's is amazing.
I
I'm
hate
running.
it. I hate it so much.
I'm
I
sorry you're
tried
bad.
watching it 3 times. I tried.
Which one?
Bad.
Which one? Did you try Phantom Blood or the good stuff?
I don't know what you're talking about. I went to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and started watching it, and it was trash and horrible.
Sorry you're bad.
Okay. Anyway, back to Imri, who's running for her life.
So,
Okay, so you disengage and you are running quite fast. You see the assassin just coming. He doesn't run directly behind you. In fact, he actually goes into a nearby shadow, and you lose sight of him. The last thing you hear as he jumps into the shadow is, "You can run, Imri, but you'll just die tired."
oh cool, I'll run to the shadows too. You know what I'm doing. Good luck. She flips up her hood while running, making sure to dip into the shadows for this.
Well, when I say he goes into a shadow, he literally walks into a bit of shadow like it was a door. He's not like hiding in.
Yeah,
in
but I'm.
He teleported, basically. He shadow
Oh,
stepped.
I had a feeling, but I'm wanting to be able to proc my stealth for my also disadvantage on him seeing me, so he has an even harder time seeing me.
Okay. Well, go ahead and roll your stealth. Oh, I just rolled off that 19. Okay. So, all right, you put your hood up. You're, in the shadows. You're blending in, taking full advantage of the situation right now. Are you still trying to move back towards where Barth and the others were at?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so as you're moving back towards there, you're not jumped by him when you get back to where you see Barth and them, though the fact that you shot him does not bode well. But what he told you really doesn't bode well. It seems as though that you are someone's scapegoat. The disappearance of the Jade Claw, you're being blamed for. You are also being blamed for crimes against a founder. And the fact that, you didn't have the conversation with the Jade Claw, sadly, to find out, what the importance was of that strange device that he had found, or the message about other members of your organization were being hunted. But you have a bounty on your head, and as a blood hunt has been called upon you, nobody in your organization is going to help you, and in fact, more likely than not, they are going to try to collect on said bounty.
You know how she said that she hates a few certain people? She now hates them more. So, upon seeing Barth, she will run over to him, rob him of a potion, and start drinking it in front of him.
Is this potion labeled Jack Daniels?
No,
She
no,
really
it's,
hopes.
no, it's labeled Jim Beam.
Jim-
Come on, I have taste. I have standards.
Every time Bart's like, "Hey, wait," and she just holds up a finger and just keeps guzzling it, and doesn't stop until the bottle's gone.
But no, she's flat out stealing one of his healing potions while bleeding.
Make a
I
sleight of
guess
hand,
that's it.
unless you just want to just go through his stuff while he's there and not care that he's looking. Are you trying to make it where he doesn't know that you stole it?
Oh yeah, no, she's doing it to take the potion, which means she's stealth. Poor Barth.
All right.
But the moment she gets it, she's going to start chugging it loudly.
Well, make a sleight of hand to see if you go unnoticed.
It was a 35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barth, she could have planted a lit alchemist fire in your pants and you wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah, probably.
Your vial of healing has been pilfered without your knowledge. Expertly done.
And then he just starts hearing glug, 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 glug behind him.
Wait, and then he rolls around. What? Where did you? How did you get back? What? Wait, where'd you get that? And then
She
he
holds
looks-
up a finger.
and he checks his belt, and sees that one of them's gone. He's like, "Hey!"
As she finishes it, she throws it behind her and then immediately says, "Assassin, Dark Blade / it hurts."
You can see where she
Also-
got clearly
Alright,
stabbed
then.
by something.
You may want to look out for crossbow bolts.
All right. Duly noted, I guess.
So, what type of potion was it that I robbed?
Just the normal healing.
Okay, what was that? 2d4 plus 4? I don't remember.
What was it? I think it was 2d4 plus 2 for the regular healing potions. The more potent ones have, the 44 plus 4 and so forth. All right, you heal 8 points of the damage from the Assassin's Blade. It does not restore the strength, though. You're still physically weaker, still shaking from the Assassin's Blade.
So, I think we should run. Together this time.
Yeah, that does sort of seem like a, Hang on, did anything, like, after the big explosion,
Mhm.
was there, like, more stuff that was going on, or did it just seem to get eerily quiet after that?
I mean, there's still battles going on in other parts of Reldon. Like you can see, because the walls are huge, and the giants were attacking all along the walls. You know, basically splitting their force up to kind of like 3 main attack forces, and just trying to shatter the walls. In which at one point they did, and some of them got in. And the ones that have gotten in, they've been scattered a bit, but they're still fighting. So there's still things going on, but it's not like a huge detrimental, like, oh god, the whole city's gonna die thing. It's just, yeah, people are gonna get hurt in the conflict with the giants that are roaming around, but they are trying to take care of it. So, the battle is still going on, but just not as bad as it was when there was a 150-foot titan smashing trees down, and that could easily just walk over the wall and just annihilate everything in its path, except for a Barth.
Apparently, yeah. Well, we can't just leave these people, Amory.
I don't know what a Nemesis soldier is, but there is a Nemesis soldier in the town. And, everything was more terrified of that than the Titan. I understand helping people, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna die.
Well, what you did see, I mean, was one of the Nemesis soldiers, jump onto a dragon and wound it, causing it and its rider to plummet much where the bright flashes were going off at.
Just my survival instincts are saying we're gonna die if we go at least in that direction.
I mean, but Ari and Mordecai are still in there. You're just gonna abandon them as well? I mean, I understand, but like...
I understand helping Ari at least. She does have a nice butt. I barely know Mordecai.
Well,
You think it feels like bark?
Well, I mean...
Is it rough bark or like smooth wood, Like, how does
I mean, to be fair, dryads only have the bark thing when they're using bark skin. Normally, they just look like elves. Kinda. I mean, it depends on the season. But since it's winter... Although, Ari's not a normal dryad, so...
No, she's not. You know what?
There's
Fine.
nothing about
Let's go see if she's
Willow
at least alive.
that's normal. There's nothing normal about her.
Oh.
As I mean, she's not even like bound to a tree or anything.
Let's at least go see if she's alive.
Yeah. My guess is, knowing her, she's probably over by where that big explosion happened.
I'm offended that you would accurately think that'd be the place she'd be.
But is he wrong?
Not wrong. Not wrong.
Oh, I guess we're gonna go in now.
All right, Meat Shield, I'm hopping on your shoulder, and she climbs onto Barth.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Elodia, do you accompany them? Zenosha,
Yeah.
Barth, and Imri are both headed toward the site of the blast that they saw, the flashes of light. So, back to Mordecai. So, you get the items that you're looking for, that you are procuring.
Yeah.
And when you exit the warehouse, Reldon looks a little different. There's a huge, chunk of city blocks just gone. There's ash kind of falling down like snow all around you. The streets, some of the buildings are by the edge of the missing city blocks, are all kind of awkwardly bent at sharp angles toward the missing city blocks. And where the city blocks used to be, there is now a perfectly cut sphere in the ground that's filling with ash. And to make matters even more awkward, it feels like the ground that you're on is making weird grunting noises.
I look down. Do I see anything weird?
The ashes underneath your feet are moving a bit. And as they move, Willow, you feel the weight of something stepping on your stomach as you narrowly avoid all the stones being rained down upon you. And you're just kind of you just coughed up a bunch of ash, and then all of a sudden, there's this heavy weight on your gut.
Well, I step off as soon as I realize it's a living thing I'm standing on.
Hi, Mordecai.
Fuck. He reaches down and starts looking her over for wounds, woundy stuff.
Make
Well, I
a
think
medicine
she was-
check.
She was pretty badly wounded last time you saw her.
And she still is.
Well, yeah, but just a 10.
I mean, she's got laceration. She still has, a lot of bruising. She may even be a little concussed. You're not entirely sure. Looks like she took some recent blunt force trauma to her head. She's been through the ringer. I mean, you'd have to really sit down and look her over with all the things that you just glance over. Like, yeah, you are pretty messed up.
At least you are conscious. Here. I hand her a potion of healing.
Okay.
She'll drink it before looking around. Where's Mr. Dragon?
I don't know. What happened?
He went into the orb thingy that they threw down, and then there was. I got fired.
Mordecai carefully lifts Will up into a sitting position and gives her a hug. We are here for you. Just if you need to take some time and then help sweep the streets, there are some horrible things walking around here.
We don't have time.
What do you mean?
So do you remember that list that I looked at?
The
The one of all the people and
it's the Iron Legion, yes.
they kind of took it out of my head.
If you need to get to the now.
But it's okay. We'll talk with Sorrow. He's smart. He can help us figure this all out.
Sorrow won't be able to help us.
Did you upset him?
There was a demon or a devil of some sort. Terrifying. Walking down the street, surrounded by shadows that had the screams of babes. It was a nightmare. But she held Sorrow's body.
Speaking of footsteps coming down the street, you hear a few footsteps running in your direction. About 3 sets of them.
Take care of Ari. I'll be right back.
Okay. And she's gonna just kind of start sifting through the ashes.
I go back through the door.
Okay. Back in the warehouse.
And I'll ping you what I want. I'm returning the other 2 things that I took.
Well, I mean, you could just say it here. The others won't understand the nuance of what's going on with it. But
Okay.
it's fine.
I'm returning what I took.
Right.
Helm of Teleportation. Another one.
Okay.
And then I'll come back out.
Mordecai steps away for a few minutes, and as he's away, Elodia, Barth, Imri, and Sinosha come up to where Willow's covered in grayish ash. You see the city blocks that have been just completely removed and replaced by a half sphere in the ground, and all the buildings that have just been, the roofs torn off for the ones that are still standing. Other structures just awkwardly tilted toward the bowl. The other buildings that have not been blasted by this, the rubble remains all in the area, and it's still snowing ash.
Oh, wow! Wow.
You know, I feel like I've got good intuition. You want to be the one that yells out for Ares' name?
Yeah, probably. Ari, are you here?
It's Willow.
There she is.
No one's alive here.
I kind of know that. I was here. Poor Pupper Dog went in too.
Sinosha helps
Help.
Willow up.
I need help. Where's that golden thing? He had a golden scythe. It has to be somewhere.
I'll help look for it.
Oh no, she's delirious. It must be. I mean, that's to be expected after this. And he just gestures to the whole.
Don't worry, I'll see if she's okay. She squeezes Willow's ass.
And
the
slap.
time, Ari. not the time, Amory.
Hey, at least she still has her reflexes. And then Imri begins to help look.
Imri takes 1 point of bludgeoning damage from the slap.
No, I can't get married.
And speaking of golden accessories, Mordecai comes out of a nearby, dilapidated home, and he's got a golden helm.
I have a lot of jokes I could make about this, but none of them are on time.
We need to leave. How quickly can everyone be ready?
It's gonna be at least a day or two. In case you forgot, we left Hal.
That is far too long.
What's so urgent all of a sudden?
If you need to get to Abigail.
Who?
Abigail is a young girl that we saved from the massacre of town. She is very important, and now she is in grave danger. We need to save her. We need to leave now.
Alright, what the fuck? Well, you know what? I guess there's nothing else for me to do with my life than go with you guys, because... By the way, we're probably going to be chased by very dangerous assassins from now on. Have fun! And I'm begins walking.
Just one more other thing to add to the list.
Wait, we don't need to go anywhere. I can teleport us there.
Well, I still have to at least send a messenger to him.
Then do it.
I need to keep looking. I need to find it. There's got to be something left here.
It will take me an hour to attune to the helm of teleportation. Can you be done by the time that is done?
Maybe the city's kind of under siege. Getting messenger out's going to be difficult.
We can have somebody send a message.
Don't we have the birds?
Through the temple.
You know what? We can just go ask... No, wait, Cindy is still back there with them. Oh, we do have the birdies, don't we?
Imri hands a bird to Ari.
Mordecai will sit down and start attuning to the helm.
Well, don't forget, Barth, you also are in charge of a very particular bird.
Oh, yeah.
One that you don't want to leave here in the city.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's still back up with the carriage up at the temple place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that, we really shouldn't...
So how about this? This helmet will function 3 times today. I will teleport us to the Dragon's Flower, then I will teleport you where you need to go, and then we will teleport to Aurora. Is that okay?
Yes, we need to... Not sure what to do here.
Is that okay with you, Eri? Willow?
Okay, and she's gonna go back to sorting through the ash, trying to find like dragon scales or that golden scythe.
Make a investigation check.
She'll give herself guidance.
Take my inspiration on this. I feel like it's important.
Alrighty.
Okay.
25.
During the blast, you didn't realize it until you started searching for other things that you found something that was given to you by the Nemesis soldier. That weird orange swirling orb. It's only about 2 inches in diameter, but easily caked in the ash and blending in with a lot of the rubble. You managed to find it your hand just kind of hits it, and you pick it up and you dust it off, and you realize it is the orb that they gave you.
I don't know why they gave it to me, though. Willow sits there and pokes it for a little bit. Do the thing. I'll have to study it a little bit.
I can look at it once I have a few minutes. I'm good with the items, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna go sit over here for a little bit then.
All right. So as Willow just kind of collapses on the side. So Mordecai, what are you doing to look at that object that she?
I'm not doing it yet. I'm attuning to the helmet.
Okay, an hour passes. What do you do?
Oh, I'll go over to the object and just straight up cast Identify.
Also, Barth was resting
rest.
during that hour.
Yep,
Yeah.
and you regain your sizable spell allotment.
All 2 of them.
Hey, it still spells.
But
And my action surge, and my superiority dice.
but on Barth's
And,
sheet, he labels his spells fucking A and fucking B. Just
Nice.
fisticuffs. So
If we get done with fucking A and fucking B, well, we'll fucking see.
well, action surgeon, he'll do it again.
What happens when I cast Identify on
So
the thing?
this object is quite peculiar. You've not seen one in person. You've read about these. These are what they called memory spheres. They were initially created during the Age of Enlightenment. The process for creating these has been lost through the wars, especially through the wars of the Sorcerer Kings, but some of them do turn up from time to time. It's almost a way of people to kind of instill words of wisdom, or just kind of basically a way of leaving a arcane message, almost like a magic mouth, but much more permanent and harder to get rid of.
I will pass that along to Willow.
She nods and... So how do you activate?
Do I know how to activate it?
So activating these is more of a... It's almost like attuning to an item. You kind of focus on it. If you're the one who created it, it's very easy to access. Otherwise, it takes a bit to attune to the magical energies of the device to properly read it and access the information within. It's not a difficult task. It's time consuming, much like attuning to an item. It's akin to that.
Okay. You will attune to it just like any other item, and you will be able to access the memories. But I'm done attuning to the helm of teleportation, and I put on the shiny helmet. So we should go. Hal is at the Dragon's Flower, yeah?
No, he's up on the mountain.
It's a mountain. This the Iron Legion? Where's the Iron Legion goes?
Yep, with our horses and Bart's little pet.
Okay. Do we need to go to the Dragon's Flower for anything?
I don't think so.
Well, let me just send a runner real quick and let them know that we're gonna be leaving town.
We will be coming back soon. I think I am on the edge of being able to formulate the energies that are necessary to cast some form of teleportation myself, but I'm not there quite yet.
Okay.
But we can run to the Dragon's Flower via the teleport. That was the original plans. And so, is everybody ready? Everyone gather around.
All right.
All right.
First charge to the Dragon's Flower.
Everybody gathers around and making contact with Mordecai. He focuses the magical energies of the helm, which begins to send out little arcs of purplish arcane energy around him, almost telescoping like an umbrella of almost like little tiny purple lightning bolts as they cascade down each one of you until they eventually almost form a net and then kind of push you all into the ground, and then almost reverse that, just going to the Dragon's Flower. You come up just from the ground, just boom, and the arcane energies just kind of crack along the ground for a moment. Inside, the Dragon's Flower is untouched. It was far enough in the city where it wasn't besieged by the giants. Thankfully, it was closer to the mountain range in the back of the lower wards, so they would have had to either come by boat or come from the mountains directly to have damaged it. They did not make it this far into the city to ruin your prospective business. Your servants are there. They're kind of like terrified. There's no real customers inside right now because everybody's just staying at their homes. The streets are virtually empty right now. And your servants are all just freaking out that you all just came out of nowhere into the Dragon's Flower.
It's fine. It's okay.
You hear like pots and pans like drop. Like one little servant halfling girl just kind of screams like, "Ah!"
It's fine. You're all safe. It is okay. We need to pick someone to be in charge while we are gone. I'll point to the person behind the bar. You, can you handle the books while we are gone?
Yes. And you're pointing to this little half elf, this young half elf who you know her name is Zelda.
Zelda, I'll walk over to her. We are going to take care of some things. We will be back. It may not be for a while. She set the profits aside, and here is 30 gold in case there is an emergency.
Okay. Take care of the inn while you are away. you know when you'll be back?
Hopefully soon. But I do not know exactly when.
Okay, now, okay. And she's like trying to pick up the coins that you gave her and put it in like a little box, and she's just like trying to. You see, she's trying to work out everything in her head, like with all the craziness that's going outside, and you know now with this responsibility of the inn, she's just trying to make sense of everything.
Things should be dying down now. Just stay in here, stay safe. I look to the rest of the group. Is there anything we need to grab? Anything you want to do us to say for this business?
Imri drags out a barrel of booze.
It's bigger than her.
She's coming up through the cellar with a barrel, just like pushing it up the steps, like goo goo, goo goo. And keep in mind, your strength has not returned yet.
The need for alcohol fuels her more than that.
Okay, her knees are kind of shaking and wobbly. She's trying to push this barrel that's larger than her up these stairs.
You okay there, Amory?
Help man with muscles.
All right, he goes over and helps her carry the alcohol. All right, I guess we're do we need anything else?
No, this is enough booze. I hope.
For tonight.
All right then.
Here's Zelda. Go. If anything really bad happens, take some of that coin and send a message through the Concordium to me in Aurora. Actually, here we go. Just give you a name real quick to contact.
What name do you give her?
I'll give her Ari.
Okay. And she just kind of takes the information. Okay.
All right. That seems to be everything. Yeah.
Willow just nods, kind of slowly playing with the orb, trying to roll it around like Mr. Inquisitor did.
Mordecai puts a reassuring hand on her shoulder. It's okay.
All right. Well, so Willow, as you're messing around with it, before Mordecai activates his next teleport, you manage to access what was stored inside of the memory sphere. You hear a voice echo in your head. I thought that I could once again play the gallant knight and defeat the evil monster. Since Zamir considered me a kindred spirit, I had hoped he would let his guard down when I entered the Cathedral of Flesh. Without any feelings of guilt to burden me, I thought I could take on Zamir myself. I would then atone for the sins of my past. I thought I could defeat Zamir on his own battlefield, but I made too many mistakes along the way, and I suffered too much damage to withstand him. And then he took me captive. I was too weak to ever redeem myself. But the others were right. My plan was too flawed, and all my secrets unraveled. I thought Samir had hated me before. I was wrong. It was not even a shadow of the hate he now slavered from every arcane ritual he performed. He made certain I would suffer eternally. The others are dead, finally free from their tortures by Zamir, and he is all the madder for that. It makes me happier that I killed them, and yet Zamir has won, simply. He has taken his revenge. He has altered my body one last time, worse than he had ever before. I am now a great, soft, jelly-like thing, smoothly rounded with pulsing white holes filled with fog where my eyes used to be. I finally received the hell I deserve. Outwardly, I shamble about, a thing that could never have been known as human, a thing whose shape is so alien, a travesty that humanity becomes more obscene for the vague resemblance. Rubbery appendages that were once my arms, bulks rounding down into legless lumps of soft, slippery matter. Blotches of diseased, evil gray come and go on my skin as though some light beamed from within. Zamir has altered me for his own peace of mind, I suppose. He doesn't want me to run full speed into a stone wall and smash my skull, or hold my breath until I faint, or even cut my throat on a rusted metal spike. Inwardly, I am alone, lost in the belly of the cathedral, on a sanctuary whom we all created because our time was badly spent, and we must have unconsciously known that he could have done things better. Now I have no skull, no breath, no throat. I have no mouth, and I must scream. And the memory fades.
Poor Willow's just kind of sitting there blinking. Oh boy. He's not fond of his competitors at all. But then she gets a bit lost in thought as she tries to figure out what to make of this.
And then she feels Mordecai's hand slap her on the back as he engages the helmet teleportation. Bzzz.
5 more minutes, 5 more minutes.
Are you okay, Ari? You look shaken.
Yeah, it's a memory, or a warning, or I don't know what to make of it. And she will repeat for everybody what the voice said.
Mordecai looks rather disturbed.
Well, that sounds rather horrific.
Yeah, just a little bit.
but you reappear at the Pendragon Hall, where you left Newt's special gift for Barth.
And Hal.
Yes,
We're
and
probably
Hal.
going to need to leave the horses.
Horses, the loot catcher.
I mean, assuming that they can't, assuming that there's only so much you can teleport, yeah, probably.
What are we up to now? Mordecai, Willow, Barth, Elodia, Amory, Senosha. Help me out here.
Boggle.
Boggle. I can teleport 2 more people. Hal. That's 1 more.
I can just resummon Nene.
Does Newt's gift count as 1?
Say for purposes here, not yet, but as it grows, it most certainly will.
And we bought a super expensive horse, right?
There is one horse with the
I wouldn't say you
horseshoes.
bought it, as you got a 5-finger discount on it.
We'll bring that one. That'll be my 8th one. I think that's everything, and we're going from Pendragon Hall directly to the Temple of the Platinum Sun in Aurora. I've done weeks of religious service there, so I'm assuming it's a well-known place for me.
All right. So you teleport from Pendragon Hall to the Temple of the Platinum Sun in Aurora. Upon arriving within the temple with your friends and a horse, some of the little stools that they use for kneeling worship, some of the...
Can it be right outside the door? I mean, I didn't really mean... I meant like so I could go right there. I mean, we've already done this once. I figure Mordecai would have the... It's up to you. I mean, whatever.
You spent more time inside than outside of it?
Sure, fair enough.
So, and it's a large enough area where you'll have less risk of running into, let's say, a random passerby as opposed to just messing up a little bit of the worship room. So, thank you, Dragon, for the follow. If you have any questions on our game, feel free to chat. We do interact with people and answer any questions that you may have for as we do our archives. So you appear with the teleport into the temple, knocking over some of the little kneeling stools. The clergy in there with their platinum-style robes, the prayer symbols, the silver suns for click. They move out the way, though they are surprised by the appearance of a horse in their temple with the rest of your group and the strange avian creature that Barth has in his arms. Nobody has been hurt, and there's mild disturbances within the temple. It's late enough where there's not a lot of people inside of here. It's mostly there's maybe like one or two people just giving their reverence to the Platinum Sun common folk, that as soon as you appear in there, they quickly get up and exit the chambers. One of the priests for Click comes running up to you. What is going on here? You cannot desecrate this
peace.
temple.
Peace. I'm Mordecai Hillensby. You may have heard of me. We will vacate as a horse. I apologize, but Abigail, where is she? Is she safe?
How do you know of? How do you know that name? Who? When? Don't move.
I brought her here.
And he begins shouting out for some of the other clergy. You don't recognize him from when you were here before. So as he's shouting out, there's a little bit of commotion as some of the other clergy appear. And you do meet one of the clergy, the priestess that you've seen before. Janina, she comes in. She is, as you remembered her, she's, elf, has most of her right side of her face was kind of burned a little bit. There's not a lot of hair there, but the left side of it is, like perfectly natural, long hair. She tries to keep it hooded for the most part, but you see on the left side, the locks of hair just flowing out of her platinum and silver robes. She comes in here. What is it? Oh, yes. These strangers, they appeared here and they're asking about the child, and it's okay. It's okay. I know this man. He's a good man. Though I do not recognize the company he keeps. And she slows her speech down. She hears the horse, just neighing and clopping with its hooves in the temple.
I'll turn to the others. Do you mind giving us a few minutes? And the horse, please.
We need to go report back into the Fearless Landers and let them know there's Nemesis on the way. So, I'll get going.
Yeah, we should probably. And Bert's gonna lead the horse out.
This is going to be interesting, and I'm relieved to follow them.
I'm sorry, it was important for me to get back here immediately. Abigail, is she okay?
The child is fine, though we had to move her for some of the, a lot has changed since you've last visited Mordecai. The city has been, less than safe. I'm afraid evil has finally wormed its way into the heart of our once pure city.
But the girl, where is she?
She has been relocated to a temple just outside of Aurora, where there's less eyes and less interference from, and it's better if you see.
Mordecai angrily spikes the helm of teleportation onto the floor. There, I need directions. I'm going now.
All right. The temple is located a bit to the west down the Golden Roadway. Just south across from the Ashen Peak in the southern forests, there is a vale. In that vale, there is a commune of druids and elven folk that also revere the Platinum Sun, and as hidden in their veil is the temple that she is at.
Anyone else comes asking about this? This is protected information.
Indeed it is, which is why the young acolyte informed me that somebody making an entrance such as yours was inquiring about the child, as you yourself gave strict orders about keeping her whereabouts secret and safe.
Yeah, she is. I'm sorry about the importance, but there are evil forces that are aware of her existence now. We must protect her. That is why I am seeking her out.
Well, Mordecai, there's... Well, your magic may help in getting out of the city, but here, let me show you. And this is something that the rest of you are going to see as you exit the temple, taking the horse out. Aurora itself has changed a little bit, not for the better. You see some familiar enforcement in the streets, done by some troops that you saw in a illegal gambling arena. You knew them as the Chimera Mercenary Company. They appear to be on every block that you can see. Their weapons are not peace-bound. And you don't see the familiar Aurora Guard that normally once patrolled the guards of the Cerulean Palace. The mercenaries seem to be randomly checking people in the streets, some of them being quite rough with them, others being quite fresh with some of the populace as they feel, unchallenged to do so.
What happened?
Well, there's been a shift in the political power here. Apparently, the Concordant is working quite closely with a particular merchant house that they seem to bend backwards for. And whatever they deem, they get. They have been rewriting several laws and even brought this private army into our city, and the Concordant allowed it. They even recoiled the local guard, and new laws were put in place that they cannot patrol outside of their masters' homes. Not even the church's own can patrol the streets. We have to stay in our temples. I don't like what's going on here one bit, Mordecai.
Nor do I. We need to secure Abigail and then, don't know. I will need to talk with my group about our next step, but I personally would like to do something about this if we can, but as I've said, there are many things that are on our plate right now. Thank you for the information.
You're welcome, but be careful. There once was law here, now it is more of a lawless land, and these mercenaries already had a bad reputation before coming to Aurora, and now they have the full authority of the government.
What merchant house is it? Is it a new one? Is it one we know?
The Stardew Merchant Company is the one calling the shots.
Mordecai tenses up and glances towards the rest, where the rest of the group went. I see.
And this is an earshot with the rest of you. Because you're just outside tethering the horse.
Oh, then Mordecai is staring at Willow.
Well, no, it couldn't be like that. It's just a big misunderstanding. Like everything else that's happened today has just been a big misunderstanding.
Willow.
We'll go report this in to the Fearless Landers, and then we'll you know what, you guys can come home with me. We got a nice manor, get good food.
Willow.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
Ari had a nice little. Well, her family had a nice little manor and compound. Willow, on the other hand, does not.
Willow is a tree.
Well, a dryad.
It's okay. You see, I know how my sister works. She'll let me back in if she can make me suffer some. And I've got a plan. It's a good one. So let's just get going.
Thank you, Priestess. I'm sure I will be back at some point. And Mordecai will start walking with the rest of the group.
Okay, so now that you are all back in Aurora, where's are you going to the Fearless Landers? Back to the sacred, the little promenade, as it were, where the Nymph's Rest was located.
Assuming it's still there.
Oh, you
It
can
might be-
see it. It's the tallest. It's the tallest object in the city. It dwarfs some of the wizard spires. It is. It's still a healthy-looking, beautiful sight. The fruit is still bountiful on its branches throughout. Though
I meant
the
more of the stuff inside.
So when you get to the promenade, some things have changed here as well. There seems to be a small kind of almost like a little outpost where you see some of the chimera just kind of meandering about and staying at, which is interestingly enough right opposite of the main entrance of the Nymph's Rest, right outside the stone gates, the stone and iron gates that separate the garden from the rest of the city. However, even entrance into the promenade, you're greeted by Chimera mercenaries who kind of look you over and they check your weapons, make sure they're peace bound, and they even ask you, "What is your purpose?" This is a protected area, and I don't recall seeing your faces here before.
We have been out of town for a while. We work here.
You work here. What do you do?
We are with one of the guilds.
Oh, and which guild is that? We have many guilds.
The Fearless Landers.
Well, if you're on official business with them, where's your pin?
Mordecai shows his pen.
And he roughly just kind of pulls it, turning it around. You can see he really doesn't give a crap about the pin. And he just kind of flicks it back at you, kind of catch it when it hits your chest.
I glare at him.
I'll be watching you. Make sure you don't get into any trouble. We'd hate to have outsiders go missing in our glorious city. It's not safe after dark. And he just kind of grins.
Take a good look as I walk by. I start walking into the tree.
Right. So, before we all walk off, because I'd rather not get murdered in my sleep tonight.
Don't worry, Imri's friends will make sure of that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Willow's gonna lean in and try to use some of that Fey charm on him. No playful little wink and make a DC 14 Wisdom save.
she actually is a dryad. All right. Let's see. Fail.
Oh, good. I'm a good friend to him, and I should be protected and not murdered. And she'll just give a little wave and keep walking.
Well, he seems like the sort that just brings trouble. I would keep your distance if I were you.
Oh, I wouldn't be too worried. You're helping keep everything safe here, right?
Yes, yes. We're here to keep things safe. Yes.
I'm glad to hear that. So confident.
Isn't that right, fellows? We're here to keep things safe in the old promenade. And then you hear more bellowous laughter.
I'll be seeing you. And she's gonna kind of walk away for leaning in close and guys, I don't think they're actually here to keep everyone safe.
No, I don't think they are either, Willow.
Well,
It seems rather complicated of a situation.
it's okay. We'll go talk with my father, and we'll convince him that these types of mercenaries are not good for business, and things will be okay. And then Mr. Dragon will let me go on a ride with him.
Yeah, I'm sure that will happen, Willow.
Absolutely. That's exactly what will happen. Well, the outside gardens are as what you remember it. Even the spot where you saw Marie, the proprietor, get taken down, that hole is still there. Though it has eroded a bit from just natural weather, the clear pit is still there. Also, the hammer is still there, though not quite a line of dwarven folk as was before. There are still a few that still try to lift and take the hammer, though none seem to be successful. Some are almost reeking of alcohol, trying to lift it. Others seem like young men for by dwarven standards. You know, if they're a human, it'd be like the late teens for a dwarf. Trying to make their mark, and they seem strange, trying to pull, doesn't even budge.
Hey, one sec, guys, before we report in. Hey, Barth, come over here with me.
What do you want?
Can you lift it?
He'll try to lift the hammer.
All right, so Barth, I want you to make a strength athletics check.
Oh, cool. I have advantage on those. 27, natural 20.
You like it wiggles a tiny bit, but then you feel like a reverse pull from the hammer. So as you wiggle it just a tiny bit, trying to remove it, and it's almost like the hammer itself is just pulling down even harder to keep it firmly planted.
You actually moved it.
Mordecai scratches his head. He's like, has anyone tried sitting visit and just trying to attune to it at this point?
I did. I spent the entire night with it.
I don't know if
Nothing
you
happened?
guys-
I think I offended it somehow, but you know.
Okay.
You're not sleeping with it, are you, Ray?
Barth's just looking between the two of them, not understanding the significance of this at all. Does anyone want to explain to me?
It's a hammer.
All right then. Thank you, Willow. It was very informative.
I don't know much about it either.
And you see Senosha just kind of go up. She like spits in her hands, and she's like, "All right, let me try." And she goes and grabs the hammer, both hands, and then just starts like trying to lift. You see her like straining. You can see her like trying to put her legs into it, her back. She's even like trying to tug on it, trying to pull like one side of the hammer's head just off the ground, and it's not even budging. But she is trying. Like she's straining, like you see like all the veins in her neck and her arms, just like yeah, but nothing.
Wait, I have an idea, guys.
Well, it was a very good attempt, dear. And he pats her on the shoulder.
No, I can
Alright.
get it.
No, I've got a better idea. So one of us can't lift it, right? What if all of us lifted it?
Don't know.
I mean, I guess. I guess that would work, probably.
Mordecai will walk up to the hammer
Maybe we can
and
maybe
touch
get like
it.
a fulcrum,
Uh,
a lever.
identify.
So, as you cast Identify on it, and the hammer itself, what it is revealed to you. It is the hammer of a great dwarven protector known as Stonus. Make a history check for me. Knowledge, little history there. See if you can recall anything. The importance.
Untrained, dirty 20.
So, from your times in history of the realm, you recall that the Stonus fellow was actually part of a very pivotal adventuring group known as the Sparrow Crew. He was there in the front lines during the first Nemesis War, and he, at some point during the Second War, he apparently fell in battle. No one really knows the specifics of it other than the Sparrow crew themselves. They've only said that Stonus's bravery and sacrifice made it possible to defeat Zamir in the Second Nemesis War.
I'll relay the information over to the group.
But one other interesting thing when you were using your detect magic is you couldn't read the auras of the weapon. It was almost as if the weapon was resisting your attempts at trying to read or gather more information about it. It's like it gave you its name and identification number, but it wouldn't let you get anything else from it.
It's like a military interrogation. Give me his name and his rank, but nothing else. I don't know what this hammer does, but it is something very powerful, I assume.
All right, well, we're all going to try to lift it now. We'll get some rope, we'll make a full.
What I think is that we should put something on our list. To find a dwarf worthy of wielding this hammer. Because that would be a great aid in us if we are going to oppose this mad god.
You're thinking of the God King. He's coming. The Mad God's
Yes.
also,
The mad god, I'm sorry. God King, yes. I'm a little frazzled, just bear with me.
I understand.
But,
Come on, move, hammer!
And the
I'm
dwarves are
going
just like
inside the
watching
tree.
you all. Some of them laughing.
Paladin of... I don't even know.
I'm going to the tree.
I need to find a new god to follow as a paladin now.
Good God. This is like her 5th one?
You always followed Click with me.
No.
He's followed more than you know. There's gods that Willow has followed that are a secret, wrapped in an enigma, and smothered in cipher.
Don't worry about it.
And as a paladin, she still has a plus 12 to use thieving tools over that of our actual rogue. So
That's next level. That's next level.
Well, so does anybody not go into the inn or wants to go anywhere else?
I guess we'll all go. We'll go to the inn. Why not? I don't see any reason not to.
Okay.
I mean, I got nothing.
So you go into the inn. Thankfully, the interior has not really changed. You still have the interior of the tree, the huge trunk that's been carved out, presumably with magic. You see the golems that you saw activate before still standing in their little niches in the walls. You see the little elven folk built into some of these little side areas into the walls, kind of helping people about, almost like an information kiosk. Like, oh, where can I get something to eat? Oh, just turn around here and you'll be in our lovely tavern. And other people are like, hey, where can I look for jobs, or where can I get look to purchase some gear, or their trade system that they have in here where they help the common folk be able to support themselves by trading in various tools, weapons for other tools and weapons of equal value, and they point them out to those directions. And you see the spiraling staircase going around this core pillar of the tree, and you remember they had other steps along the outer sides as well, depending on the establishments and businesses that you went to. The Landers being a couple floors up. So, as you enter the tree, what is your character's immediate needs? Like, where would they want to try to get a place to rest? Would they want to get something to eat? To try to stock up on supplies? Something else?
I thought we were reporting, or
I'm just going to take a moment and hug the tree and say, there, it's okay.
And everybody's watching, like, the dryad hug the tree. They kind of, like, do that slow walk and head turn. Like, that's something you definitely don't see every day expression on their faces. You know, some raising eyebrows. They don't really talk. Some just stand and just kind of look, because you are definitely something that most don't see every day. Most
Especially
just
in a city.
in a city, and most will read of your existence in a book, if they can even read. So, a lot of eyes are on you right now, Willow.
She's going to take a moment, look behind her, realize that everybody's staring. It's okay, Mr. Tree. They're not judging you.
And that's when she realizes, to her horror, the area that she hugged the tree is now turning to glass. Just kidding on that. That would be the worst thing ever. Initiating a fake curse on this poor tree.
All right. So I'm gonna try to send a message to some of my less violent, angry siblings, saying that, I'm back in town. I'm a dryad. It's a long story. How are you guys doing? Come meet me.
Okay.
And I'll leave everybody else to report in. And please pick me up a pin while you're there.
So, which member are you sending this to? You remember they had that internal messaging service inside the tree.
Right, so I figure there's probably 3 or 4 maybe who are still in town.
Okay.
We'll try to send one to Thief Brother, one to crap, I actually have to look up their notes on their names. I don't remember. One to political corruption Bard's sister, and one to her one ally, the crippled wizard.
Okay, so let's see. Yeah, because the one that you met when you were going on the train was your dear sweet sister Esmeralda.
Yeah, psychopath. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Mika. Mika's
The
the thief.
swashbuckler, yep.
And it's Winnie the Bard. And while we're doing that, I'm looking at just finding my notes. But yes, those are the 3 I'm trying to go to. I'm just not going to dear sweet older sister.
Gotcha. So, as you're making your letters out, and you tell the postmaster, who you want to send it to. The postmaster just kind of looks at you oddly. You mean their estate, right?
No, why would I send a letter to the... Well, I mean, I guess it is going to their house. Unless you mean, like...
You I mean, you don't look... I've never seen you here before. Are you new in Aurora? The little old man with the little glasses and the graying hair behind. He's got the little white shirt with the kind of brownish leather vest. Kind of holding a little quill just shakily as he's like was about to write where to send this to.
By estate, you mean house and not next of kin, right?
No, Emily, they tragedy has struck that family. Their Lady Esmeralda handles the affairs and of their estates. I can make the letters out to her if you'd like.
How... Do you know if any of her other siblings are able to accept mail?
I I don't know how to break this to you, ma'am, but she is the last surviving member of her family.
And the parents as well.
I believe the funeral is a few days from now.
Right. Well, I need to just write another quick letter.
I take your time. We have the writing spot there, and there's like these little dividers that you can write privately, where where people like looking over your shoulders, almost like a voting booth, but it's just like a little standing desk that you can kind of write and have time to kind of prepare things without being distracted by people walking up or having a loud conversation next to you. And you can do it with some bit of privacy where they can't see what you're writing.
Yeah, Ari is going to write a quick letter. Pick who you want me to marry you to, because the game's still afoot. And then you see various different curses there at the end of it. Struck. Very not nice descriptive ways of describing her sister.
Of course.
Before she just scratches all of them out.
So she's sending a letter with all the scratches and all that?
Yes.
I love it.
P.S. I'm taking back my letter of forgiveness.
It's been revoked. Fantastic.
Feel free to burn it, or I'll burn it when I come.
So apparently your sister, your greatest rival, has been quite the busy bee.
Well, you know what? If they all fell so easily, they didn't deserve the position. That's the family belief. That's not Willow's belief, as she's going to be sobbing through the night. But, that's family belief, strength by power.
I mean, apparently she did manage to out-leverage the other concordant houses in Aurora, which is really unheard of, since that was supposed to be their seat of power.
It's fine. The higher she goes, the harder it'll be when she falls.
All right. So, the rest of you, were you going to report to the Fearless Landers, or were you going to wait for Ari to finish her letters, or do something else in the meantime while she was doing that? Don't all answer at once.
I guess we'd have to go and report to the Fearless Landers. Just
Yeah.
Imri wasn't really part of the group when they were first sent off to this, so she can't give them a proper
Well, this was a request by Mordecai. We're mainly just telling them the shit that happened and that we're back now for a while.
I remember our quest was to stop the ogres, and by gosh, we stopped. Yes, it was inside the city limits, but
Uh,
I
Yeah,
still demand payment for it.
I'll go up to the Landers.
Okay. And as you go there, the offices, they're open. They do have the training bay, which you do see other landers there, younger landers, busy using the facilities. And you make your way to the hall that had the offices, which had the job boards next to it. And sitting at the desk, working diligently, is a very familiar halfling with a very large maul, as she is busy writing on a parchment, scribbling. You just hear it scraping. The only other sounds besides the quill scraping on the parchment is the sounds of an occasional fist or sword hitting a training dummy from the training facilities down the hallway. Excuse you. Mordecai, right?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes,
it's been a
it's been a
while.
while. Yeah.
We are back.
And let's see. You were investigating some of the regions to the west. What are your findings?
Well, this morning we repelled a big giant invasion. I mean, not a large-scale invasion. Well, I mean, it was a large-scale invasion, but it was a large-scale invasion by giants and a big titan of death. It was not. It was a lot.
Oh, wow. That and did you make contact with the offices there? Some of our
We did, but there was some pressing business we had to be here for, so we used some teleportation. We were in Relden.
getting you more talented than I thought you were when we first met. Interesting. You're just full of surprises.
I have resources that I can tap into when it is an emergency.
Well, I hope you do have those resources and then some, because we have a rather interesting task for you. Considering your last reports of what happened to Ebon Meadows, speaking to some of the very few survivors there, it's a shame what happened to that township, but even with the change in rulership, that land is still very valuable to the region. And, well, since the Lord there has perished and been confirmed thereof, during the conflict of holdings for the Concordance, the lands were not. The ownership has still up for grabs. And, well, being that we are still in charge of the areas outside of the city, we have taken apart we'll just say, peacekeeping mission and humanitarian aid for that area. And as such, we are going to work diligently to rebuild that land. And I think that there are many in the city who would be eager to move out and work hard to restore a more peaceful, serene life. And since your group has been there, know the threats very well, I couldn't think of anyone better to oversee the resettlement of Ebon Meadow.
No offense or anything, but can we have a day to recover and talk about this? There are a number of things on our plate, and while I don't want to discount the mission you are giving us, I cannot make that decision on my own.
I completely understand, and if what you say is true in the City of Storms, then we'll be reaching out to our contacts out there.
Yeah, there are demons or devils, I'm not sure which one, but roaming the streets along with the giants and Nemesis soldiers there as well. Things are not going good.
Well, Nemesis. You certainly are mistaken. They haven't been seen in decades.
Look into
Yeah, it
these
stabbed a
eyes.
dragon.
I'm so fucking frazzled about all of this bullshit. There are Nemesis there. There are Nemesis
So
everywhere.
the Nemesis were working with the giants in a Titan?
I don't know who they were working for, but they were there along with them.
It was then that Ari remembered she forgot to give a little bit more details about.
This is, you're right. This is definitely going to need a day to gather all this information. Please, I would like to hear each one of your accounts in exuberant detail of what exactly has been going on since you left the city. We need to understand the full scope of what is going on.
It is okay, I'll recount my tale first. If some or all of you want to check on Willow, I don't want her to be alone for too long, seeing the circumstances the city is in.
Okay.
Well, I'm talking to the party.
Right.
Yeah, I'll go find her.
Okay, thank you.
And Barth will turn away and head out in search of Willow.
So, where is Willow going to go? Just as you mentioned, she was going to bawl her eyes out. Where is she going to during this kind of revelation of what has really hit her, the weight of the situation?
She's probably gonna be heading back to the back to meet up with the rest of the group. Still in that dazed state.
All right. So as you're kind of meandering up some of the steps, going through some of the walkways as you go from each floor of the interior of the tree, you do run into Barth, who is looking for you.
Hey, Barth.
Oh, hello. You don't look so good.
I'm okay. Everything's not fine. And Barth has at least a +1 con, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Barth turns to glass.
Yep, she is bawling her eyes out. They're all dead. And not only that, I got fired today and I've sold out everybody.
Barth just sort of, he just sort of, he just sort of pats her on the back, comfortingly, not really understanding what she's saying through her excessive tears.
She's got like one of those little snot bubbles coming from one of her nostrils as she's bawling her eyes out.
Just one moment. Just one moment.
Because people do use the catwalks up there going for the various businesses. They're like keeping a wide berth of this dryad who's crying on Barth's shoulder. It's like they were going to go on the left catwalk, and then they see that, and they just kind of stop, turn around, and go along the long way over the right side.
My family's dead. My God said, I'm not needed anymore. My services are no longer needed. Almost all my friends are dead. Mr. Dragon's dead. I don't know what to do.
Well, your god said a lot. Well, the Nemesis said a lot more than that.
Yeah, he did. We're trying to stay optimistic right now. We're trying to stay positive.
Fair enough.
But yeah, she in her bawling tears will give a recount of what happened.
Okay. Now it's going to take a little bit of time to get all the tales with that, because there is a lot of information to go about with that. This will give your characters a little bit of time to do some things on their own to further investigations. Basically, a little bit of downtime for them to kind of go about. And I do want to go over one thing that is going to come up during this downtime that I really want to share with the group here. So, during this downtime, obviously the situation in Reldon calms down, and Reldon was saved from destruction by giants and an undead titan monstrosity. As such, word has spread about this and has made its way back to the capital of Aurora. And it's made its way back in a rather unusual fashion. As Barth, one day, as you and Shinosh are at the Busy Bee, the little tavern that they have, the little 3-store tavern that they have inside the tree, and she's like, you just eating kind of dinner, drinking, looking outside the one-way mirror style bark of the tree, like seeing the city below. Beautiful sight, beautiful vista. So when you hear somebody shout out your name, Barth!
He looks up around towards wherever he heard his name called from. What?
And that's when you hear the familiar strum of a lute. As the next words that follow are, "The man they call Barth. He gambled his life in, he came back for more, stood up to the giants and gave them what for? Our love for him now warms our hearts like a hearth. The hero of Reldon, the man they call Barth." And strums the instrument again. "Now Barth saw the walls they were a-breaking. He saw the soldiers lament. He saw that Titan taken, their lives with every footfall's descent. So he said, 'You won't do harm to these people. I won't let you crush them under your heel.' Barth leapt from the walls like a great jungle cat and defeated that Titan in 5 seconds flat. The man they call Barth. He gambled his life and came back for more, stood up to the giants and gave them what for? Our love for him now warms our hearts like a hearth. The hero of Reldon, the man they call Barth." And again the instrument strums. "Now, here's what separates heroes from common folk like you and I. The man they call Barth. He turned round when he felt the tremor in the earth, and he rode atop that griffin into the sky. He dropped down onto the wall. He dropped down and punched evil in its eye. The man they call Barth. He rode that griffin back into the sky and flew off under the stars, waving us all goodbye." Here we go, and he just picks up the temple and he goes back into the chorus, and people are getting into it in the tavern. So, Barth, congratulations. You have reached folk hero status.
Apparently, yeah.
And Sunosha is even further impressed. Now you have songs after you.
Yeah.
And people are singing songs about you defeating a Titan in 5 seconds.
I mean, it was a little bit longer than that.
And you had help, but, you know, I mean, it's what the bards are singing.
Yeah.
And eventually the rest of you will hear the wonderful ballad about Barth.
Willow will add it to her song repertoire to sing.
So, yeah. So I think we're gonna stop that here for today. Just give you all some time to think about what you want to do during the little bit of downtime before you plan your next big adventures, and see what else unfolds for each of your characters as their stories begin to take shape, and, well, see how else your characters change the world. So that's it for today. It's awesome. Everybody was able to come. Boggle will be here again next week, so that will be interesting when he finds out about all the stuff that you've done while he was away. So,
Yeah.
Barth, you did what? You kicked the Titan where? Yeah. So, all right. Well, for those that followed and hung around for our session, thank you. Again, don't feel shy to chat with us. If you want to lurk, that's fine, but everybody's welcome at our table, and we'll just, love talking to people. These sessions are, again, not really a Dungeons and Dragons show. It's just our tabletop sessions, and we record them for archival purposes, and we welcome you both joining the adventure with us and just having a good time. So, anyway, everyone, you have a wonderful day, and until next time, be safe and happy gaming.
Happy gaming, folks.